Ferrari and Ashley James are here with us now to help discuss today's biggest headlines. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So, sort of following on the guidance that we see, the resentencing guidance that we've been seeing for the last few days, Nick, the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is looking at plans, apparently, if you look at the front pages of some of the newspapers, about chemical castration, mandatory for paedophiles and other sex offenders.
Well, let's give a little bit of background. There are many other things in the sentencing review. This was commissioned and done by a man called David Gauke, who is the former Conservative Justice Secretary. He's just spent half an hour on my radio show taking calls from listeners, so I'm kind of fully up to speed with this. So let's give you... This is partly evidence-based. The idea is chemical castration, so people who are sex offenders, particularly this applies to people such as paedophiles, if they realise that they have sexual urges they want to control, then they can sign up for this. How does it work? Well, we don't take it on trust. You have to report either weekly or monthly, and they will give you an injection. There is a pilot that has gone on in the southwest of country, and they are, quotes, encouraged by the results. But you look at other places such as California, you look at some European countries where it's in place. The key is whether it's voluntary or mandatory. That is the absolute aspect. We need to say it is early days here in the UK, but you could be looking at this form where they take they have this medication and it suppresses their libido, particularly as in child offences. So that's what they're looking at.
In the US, in California, for example, Ashley, castration is a mandatory condition for jailed sex offenders that are freed on parole. One of the challenges for the government, of course, is trying to free up some of the spaces in jails, and that's one of the conditions. If you're in California.
Whenever I look at something, I think of, like, well, what is the opposition to this? So I guess the opposition might be about the ethics of forcing someone to do something with their body. But I think when you're looking at paedophiles especially and other serious sex offenders, they have given up the right to bodily autonomy by invading someone else's bodily autonomy. So I think it's not a terrible idea. However, what I worry about is this shouldn't be part of an early release plan, because also they're saying that the reoffending rates are reduced by up to 60%. So therefore, there is still a 40% chance of reoffending. Personally, for me and probably for everyone, that is too much of a risk. I don't want paedophiles on the street. Do I think it could be part of a bigger programme to help prevent these things? Then yeah, absolutely, because as you mentioned, you know, the chemical castration, it can help reduce sexual urges, reduce reoffending only by 60%, and I don't think that's enough to protect society. What I would also say is we need more prevention, early intervention, because this is obviously once someone has already committed the crime, and also better supervision and support post-release. I saw a story yesterday about a paedophile who was caught by a camera, and he was with a 6-year-old girl, so he should never have been allowed there. So, like electronic tags, for example. I think my concern about this is, obviously, we do have a very extreme situation in that there are no more prison spaces. Should we be releasing paedophiles and sex offenders? Are they, I would argue not.
As a weapon in the armoury, it feels like something that needs to be explored. But, Nick, it's the headline we tend to see every couple of governments, isn't it? Something that's looked at, and they've never managed to bring it in yet.
But it's never been as acute. Remember, we've discussed before. They reckon they could free up 10,000 prison places. Remember when this government got in, it was down to, well, at one point it was down to double digits. Remember during the riots. One other thing which the former Justice Secretary told me, and this is interesting, a lot of your viewers will be aware how much crime is fuelled by alcoholism. People breaking the cars. They're actually looking at the possibility that those slimming injections, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic, will stop people, and that could be treatment they will get to stop them, and that would treat their alcoholism. So they will come out and they will take those jabs for that.
We had someone on the show whose drinking has stopped significantly because the urge has stopped as she's been taking Ozempic, along with the food noise. The drink noise has gone as well.
And it's the same as when they say here, many sex offenders currently seek the chemical castration proactively. So they're looking for something to quiet.
Do you do it mandatory or voluntary? That will be the key for your viewers to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, let's move on to Turkey. They've rolled out a nationwide scheme to stop and weigh people in public. Now, we've just heard that Weight Watchers is going out of business because it doesn't work and all the rest of it. You're shaking your head, Ashley. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like this is something that is dystopian because, I mean, first of all, it's reducing health to a number. It's also, depending on a BMI scale, just a reminder, I bang this drum all the time, but the BMI scale was invented by a Belgian mathematician to study the average man. It was never meant to be something as a health measurement, and there's so many cases that you hear of very healthy teenage girls, amongst many other people, being told that they are overweight, and girls that are so underweight and unhealthy, that they are not having periods, being told that they fit within the healthy scale of BMI. It was a tool used to measure men, and white men at that, so not women, not minorities. I also think that public way, or like, weight isn't a moral issue, and being bigger is not always unhealthy or bad. And it's worth saying as well that obviously when you're weighing people or looking at BMI, that doesn't account for like muscle mass, bone density, genetics, your medical history, your mental health. There's lots of people with eating disorders. Also, look, imagine like as a postpartum woman, you leave the house. You're obviously like recovering from birth. Are you going to get weighed and then told that you're overweight? And I think if we really want to look at health, we should be looking at healthy food, which is more expensive than unhealthy food, and we should be looking at people's ability to exercise. And I think unless you're putting those in place, this is all just like, it feels like fat-phobic and punishing for the body that you exist in.
Yeah, it's an anti-obesity campaign, which is described by officials as a national fight and is running under the tagline, Know Your Weight, Live Healthy. It began May 10th and plans to survey 1 in 8 people in the country.
Turkey's clearly got a problem because the Minister of Health said that 50% of Turkey's society is overweight. That needs to be addressed, obviously, for their doctors and their clinicians and everyone else. But this actually comes back to what we were just saying in the previous conversation. Voluntarily, yes. To be mandated, no.
Yes.
Should they have places in shopping centres where if you want to go up and there's someone who's standing by who says, well, actually, Mr Ferrari, you want to do this? Have you ever tried that? Da, da. Should you stop people? And they do actually say they will stop by medical examiners for a spot BMI index. No, that doesn't work for me.
So
Set them up.
Can you turn around and say, no, I don't want to do that?
I don't know. I'm not in Turkey. I mean, it doesn't look as though you can.
Yeah,
well, I suppose.
no.
I mean, what are they going to do? They're not going to nick you, are they?
No.
But I don't think it should be like that.
No.
That you should have a. This is all stick and no carrot.
Yeah, it's also frightening that the state can measure your and control your body. Horrific.
But I think the point they're trying to get at, though, is, as Nick pointed out, 50% of Turkey is overweight. The health minister of Turkey has said being overweight means being sick. It means we will get sick in the future. It is a fight. It's a national fight. Know your weight, live healthily. And if they don't have the exposure that we have over here, and as you point out, we don't live in Turkey, to what is going on, all that stuff, maybe this is something that they need to do. At least if it kickstarts the collective
Being
national...
smaller and thinner isn't always healthier.
But if it kickstart the national consciousness to understanding where they are health-wise, then does it sort of in some way start that conversation which allows them to move into a slightly sort of less draconian way of measuring everybody?
It's the great debate, isn't it? It's whether you try and nudge people.
Yeah.
You know, they call it a great debate, nudge, or whether... I mean, no joking aside, you're in the sun again today because of the incredible physical state you're in. You weren't forced to do that.
No.
That was something you took on board. You really bought into it. You look absolutely stunning. You're 50 and you've got, I don't know, the body of a 49-year-old.
Stunning.
Body of a 49-year-old.
Thanks.
But there would have been... If someone had been shouting at you to do it, Ben, would you have done it?
No.
Precisely. So I think that's what Ashley are driving at. You should be encouraged and you should want to do it and go into the gym and do all the stuff that you do.
But also, a lot of it is a privilege. A lot of people can't afford, like, personal trainers and gym memberships.
No, but you can eat healthily.
Not always.
Oh, you can. No,
There's people living in poverty, and for those people, what are they doing? This is what I would like to know. What are they doing to make food and exercise more accessible? Because also, a lot of people, especially if you've got children and you can't afford childcare, how are you going to do your exercise? And I'm not saying it is impossible, but I think if the government really wanted to get involved...
We were on the same page. I thought we were going to get to the weather. Still on the same page.
Never.
But it's just...
But
never
we had a good run.
There was almost a sigh.
There was almost a sigh.
I wonder what the legacy of this campaign will be in Turkey, though.
To Ash's point, I do think it could damage young people's emotional health. A 14-year-old girl, actually a 14-year-old boy, being told, right, stop. Do you know how fat you are? And he's out or she's out with their mates. To Ash's point, I think that's really... They might be physically fit, but I wonder emotionally what the health minister might be looking at.
Yeah.
But there was a sigh, wasn't
there?
There was a sigh.
There was a lean back and a...
Discrimination.
Yes, Ashley, should you
He
like
sighs at me all the time.
You can take him to employment tribunal.
Oh, well done.
Because sighing at a colleague in frustration breaches equality laws and has been classed as discrimination.
I'm going to ask this morning to pitch their lawyers because I get sighed at all the time.
Literally. So a UK software engineer has successfully sued their employer for disability discrimination after complaining about their manager's sighing. The employment tribunal has ruled that sighing at a colleague at work in frustration could breach equality laws.
But this gentleman was neurodivergent. When he arrived at his place of work, people were quite critical of him because he found it difficult to fit in with certain work structures. he went away and he was diagnosed with ADHD. He came back and said, I've got ADHD. And that is when it is alleged his boss would roll his eyes and sigh. This man has trouble keeping to certain time strictures. Again, he doesn't always get up there, so... I'm sorry I'm late, I wasn't feeling very well, like that. If it was someone who was not neurodivergent, but I do think, and in fact the law is in place to allow for people that if they have these issues, they should be respected.
Yeah.
And we want these people in the workplace. They're as much a part of society as I am, as you are, as Ben is. So bosses have to take that into account. And that is why that will now go forward for a compensation claim, take on board his condition, for want of a better word.
The employee went off sick with work-related stress from February 2023 and never returned. He filed his claim for disability discrimination in May 2023, was sacked in January 2024, and as you say, he's now in line for compensation. But of course, within the context of this person who's neurodivergent and clearly had issues that needed to be respected and understood, which sounds like it wasn't. But you can see why people sitting in their workplace now will be going, oh, for heaven's sake.
I actually think this is sort of like a clickbaity thing because they want people to think, oh, you can't even sigh anymore. And obviously, in this case, yeah, there was neurodivergence. But even if you're not neurodivergent, I don't think it's the best way to manage people by sighing. It's very passive-aggressive. And I don't think you get the best out of people by being like, oh. So, you know, maybe it's not discriminatory.
This is a pep talk for Nick, by the way.
Did you notice she was looking at me? I mean, I'm glad you felt that.
Nick, you could get so much more from me if you just stop sighing at me all the time.
Well, I'll try. We'll see. I don't know.
It is an interesting one, though, isn't it?
Yes. You've got to do the eye roll. That's what I do to you.
Give me an eye roll. Oh, yeah, that's very good.
That's very valuable in discriminatory court.
Yes, that's right. My lawyers are watching.
Yeah.
My lawyers are watching.
And we're talking summer pet peeves.
Yep.
A new poll has revealed that people who go to the supermarket in swimwear are among the worst summer irritants. I mean, have you been? Were you not freezing?
I didn't think this was a problem, but now I'm looking at this, I'm like...
supermarket in
your I don't like if I need to do my... If I need to do my shop, I'm not like, let me put my bikini on, it's a lovely day. But if you're on holiday and you're on the beach and you want to nip in for like a sandwich or a drink...
or something like that.
Put some shorts on.
Look at you go.
You put some shorts on,
but I just like... Sometimes I don't even button it up. But, yeah, I'll just be like there, grab what I need, get out.
Mine's a comfort thing, though. I'd be freezing if
Well, I'm not doing the big shopping.
Not the big shop.
But you would go in your bikini. Nick, do you ever do the shopping in your bikini?
I'm never happier than when I'm getting my vodka and red wine in my thong. I think... the people in the south of France maybe have a slightly different view.
As opposed to everybody else in aisle 3 who are feeling slightly billion. Feet ought to do it to me. Not so much women's feet. I mean, but the feet are not an attractive part of most folks' body. Men's feet.
Yes.
And the fact that they decide, and then they're going to, and I know everyone, you shouldn't wear socks with sandals, but men's feet are pretty damn gross, and they're hairy, and they're not well cared for.
When they're like talons.
Yeah, so feet, that's what does it for me.
That was number one.
Feet is number one.
In the top 10, number one, dirty or infected feet.
Right, OK.
Noisy flip-flops.
Noisy
I don't mind a flip-flop.
No.
How can they not make a noise?
No,
yeah,
totally. Socks with sandals, 68%. That's what all the kids are doing these days.
The kids are doing socks with sliders.
Sliders, they're all doing that.
No socks with everyday shoes.
That means stinky shoes.
You do that?
I don't have...
Ashley, you are literally
I've always got cold feet.
Written for her?
I know. I feel like, did Tommy write this? Is he trying to tell me something? Yeah, because I don't have, like, sweaty feet.
Well, on a hot day, everyone has sweaty feet.
Like trainers.
But they'll be sweaty by the time you finish the day, surely.
Yeah.
Not really. It's not hot enough here. Maybe if I lived abroad, I might put some socks on, but...
I tell you, your wiki
feet page is going to go through the roof
now. Sun cream not being rubbed in properly is the number 6
quite funny. I like that. Great big white...
Just
I leave it on the kids like that, actually, so it just soaks in to give them
That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Now then, let's ask another question about summer holidays.
Yeah.
Because we happen to be talking about this because it's been rumoured for a while, but it seems that some of the budget airlines are looking at different ways of improving the numbers or increasing the numbers in cattle class, literally, with standing seats. Budget airlines could launch standing-only seats as early as next year. Designs have said have been finally passed safety test. There you go, Nick. Could you see yourself on a standing seat?
Well, I don't see that overcoming club class, will it? Where you normally find...
I was going to say, Nick, do you know about economy sitting?
Look, if I had to get to Edinburgh, from London, I suppose so, but... You're not going to go too far in that, are you?
No.
You're not going to... Well, would you want to cross the Atlantic? 7 hours?
I think an hour would be my tops.
Yeah.
For sure. But I don't know how comfortable I'd feel about it.
Standing-only seats.
Turbulence?
Standing-only tickets may potentially cost as little £1 to £5, actually. It's incredibly accessible if they could do it.
I remember in the day when, I don't know if it was when Ryanair and EasyJet launched, but do you remember you could like fly for £1 and £5 just to sit? Yeah. And now we're really at the standing stage. I mean, I've got young kids and I usually fly with them, and I think even sitting is hard enough on a plane with kids, so I'm going to pass. But when I was a student, if it meant that I could have gone abroad, then
you'd fly to
why not?
Thailand standing up.
When I was a student, yeah. I mean, I used to...
Do you know how far it is?
No, I know how far it is, but if it was between going and not... If it was between going and not going...
For a quid? Well, I suppose you get... Oh, my God.
I think you're right. There's a demographic that, like it would be students and young people, I'd imagine, who'd say, well, I can go to Thailand or I can go to America and it's going to cost me £5 or £10, whatever. I can get out. You can walk around, obviously.
Right.
But Michael O'Leary, he said back in 2012, he's the Ryanair chief, he started talking about this, and he reckoned you get 10 rows of them, 15 rows of additional seats. So suddenly that brings the costs down for everybody, and it makes
he was, of course, the same airline boss who wanted to charge to go to the loo.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next step.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is like peak capitalism, that now we're like shoving people into tiny spaces. But so I don't love the idea.
It looks a bit like a roller coaster.
It does. It looks like if turbulence hit, it would tip you over and your legs
Where are
would
the days
dangle
of
as
the
it went.
glamour where Richard Burton and Liz
yes,
Taylor
with
would
this
get out
pair
of
of
long jacket
sunglasses.
cars and walk through
Wafted down
Heathrow?
and,
Absolutely, and these
leather
amazing-looking
cheeks.
men and women would bring you a gin and tonic. Look at it now! How the hell have we come to
Throw the
this?
mood at you,
I know,
Gina.
just spray you with wine. There you go.
Suddenly doesn't sound bad, does it?
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Well, how about doing a bit of cat sitting? Cat sitting that pays £65
There's a cat
an
here.
hour. Yeah, £65
That
an
wouldn't be
hour.
enough to sit you, Cat.
Wouldn't, no. Not worth the trouble, definitely not.
£65 an hour.
A job advert has gone viral for seeking a cat sitter prepared to pamper what could be Britain's most spoilt cat for £65 an hour. Best job ever?
You've got to like cats.
You've got to like
I mean,
cats.
to be fair, for 135 grand a year, you don't have to like cats.
135
I would go and they'd be like, do you like cats? I'd be like, love them.
Yes,
love them.
yes.
And I love that part of the job is that you have to go to Harrods once a month to purchase new toys for the cat.
Good grief.
It's a luxury private jet
Yes,
company.
that's it, yeah.
Looking for a personal assistant whose job will be to care for an office cat accustomed to living the high life.
We've come full circle, haven't we? So that's a luxury private jet company. We've just seen the total opposite with But imagine if the cat ever got ill or you lost the cat.
You'd have to be able to buy one
Well,
that
you
looks
need a
exactly the
replica.
same.
Someone
Yes, for
downstairs
sure.
said that they would buy several cats that look the
Just in
same,
case.
just in case.
And then, because I think, as we were saying once before, cats are quite difficult to make friends with. Not like a dog who just races over you. So you're going to have to work at being friendly with cat. Which, as you know, it's not easy. How easy is it to be friendly with a cat?
Terrible.
I mean, what a
the-
great job for a cat.
The
lover,
successful candidate will be expected to visit Harrods once a month to purchase new toys for the cat. So it's clearly a very fussy cat.
But also, what I love is you have to pay them classical music every Friday, like no other day. He doesn't like classical music any other day but Friday.
You also have to provide fresh milk and food twice a day, cleaning the cat's feeding area and litter box, and, as you said, classical music every Friday.
But you don't have a dog, but you always had dogs.
Yes.
But you would do
I'm
it.
not a cat
Good one
person.
for Dermot.
Dermot's
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Yes, of course.
With
He's got a
the
ninja cat, hasn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
I'll be intrigued.
If you have to play classical music, I wonder what else is on the list. Do you see what I did there? List. Sorry about that one. Had to do it.
I think that probably...
Eye roll.
I think we all signed
Eye
it.
roll,
We're
sigh.
all going to be up in court with discrimination.
That went over my head.
Thank you
guys.
both for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you
for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.